Hello and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja and these are the headlines. Islamabad has warned the world against New Delhi's plans of conducting false flag operations to justify its aggression against Pakistan. Addressing at the UN General Assembly, Pakistan's representative Munir Akram said India is spreading fake news to malign Pakistan and sponsoring terrorism in the country. He added the extremist BJP RSS fanatics face mounting opposition from within India. The Taliban have rejected Pentagon's accusations of not complying with the Doha peace agreement. In a tweet, the Taliban spokesperson said they are fully committed to the implementation of all the clauses of the agreement. Earlier, the Pentagon said it is very hard to see a specific way forward for the negotiated settlement with the Taliban over the surge in violence. In India, police have clashed with the farmers demonstrating against the controversial farm laws in the Delhi-Haryana border. Many protesters were injured after the police baton charged them in a bid to uproot their protesting camps. Over 100 farmers have died during the protests, with 4 committing suicide. Brazil's coronavirus infections have surpassed 9 million, while it has recorded over 221,000 deaths so far. The U.S. has detected another variant first found in South Africa as its caseload tops 25.7 million, with over 432,000 deaths. Pakistan has recorded more than 1,600 new cases and 46 fatalities overnight, raising the death toll to 11,560. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.18 million lives and infected 101 million people so far. And in cricket, Pakistan have won the first test match against South Africa by 7 wickets at National Stadium, Karachi. Earlier, the Proteas succumbed to the guile and craft of Pakistani spinners and were bowled out at 245, setting 88-run target. Noman Ali ran through the lower order, taking 5 wickets, while Yasir Shah picked up 4 top-order batsmen. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Islamabad has warned the world against New Delhi's plans of conducting false flag operations to justify its aggression against Pakistan. Pakistan's envoy to the United Nations said India is spreading fake news to malign Pakistan and sponsoring terrorism in the country. Addressing at the UN General Assembly, Munir Akram added the extremist BJP RSS fanatics face mounting opposition from within India. He alerted the global forum that the region may not be fortunate to avert a war next time like it did in 2020 due to Pakistan's restraint. The envoy slammed India's illegal demographic changes to undermine Muslim majority in occupied Kashmir. Akram also called for the implementation of the United Nations resolution on the right of self-determination to the Kashmiri people. The Taliban have rejected Pentagon's accusation of not complying with the Doha peace agreement. In a tweet, the Taliban spokesperson said they are fully committed to the implementation of all the clauses of the agreement. Earlier, the Pentagon said it is very hard to see a specific way forward for the negotiated settlement over the Taliban surge in violence.
At a news briefing, spokesperson John Kirby said, however, Washington remains committed to the Doha peace agreement. Kirby added, the Biden administration will not commit to a full drawdown of troops from Afghanistan by May due to the surge in violence. Earlier, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken also said that Washington was in the process of reviewing the Doha Pact. Speaking to Afghan President Ashraf Ghani over the phone, Blinken reiterated his desire for all Afghan leaders to support the historic opportunity for peace, while preserving the progress made over the last 20 years. The Taliban have earlier urged the new U.S. administration to fulfill the peace deal commitments and not to repeat the mistakes made by the previous governments. Meanwhile, top Taliban negotiator Sheikh Mohammed Abbas Stanekzai met with Russia's envoy Zamir Kubulovo in Moscow. Taliban spokesperson Mohammed Naim said the two sides discussed the ongoing intra-Afghan negotiations.
In India, police have clashed with the farmers demonstrating against the controversial farm laws at the Delhi-Haryana border. Many protesters were injured after the police baton charged them in a bid to uproot their protesting camps. A mob of around 200 people chanting pro-BJP slogans also threw stones and vandalized protest camps. Thousands of Indian farmers have been demanding a repealing in the laws they say make them vulnerable to corporate exploitation. Over 100 farmers have died from illnesses during the protest, including 4 who committed public suicide in protest. Iran has warned that the new U.S. administration must act quickly to return to the 2015 nuclear deal. Iran's permanent ambassador to the United Nations, Majid Takht Ravanchi, said this in an interview. Takht Ravanchi said that the window is closing for President Joe Biden to lift economic sanctions before Tehran's deadline approaches. He said, however, the United Nations nuclear inspectors will not be expelled from Iran after the deadline, but the additional access to the nuclear sites provided by Tehran voluntarily will be withdrawn. Ravanchi also reiterated that if the United States resumes compliance with its commitment, Iran will follow suit. He said this will benefit all sides. In Iraq, security forces have killed an ISIS commander who claimed to be the leader of the group in the country and its deputy caliph. In a tweet, Prime Minister Mustafa al-Khidimi said that Abu Yasser al-Isawai was killed as a part of intelligence-based operation. Last week, ISIS claimed responsibility for twin suicide bombings that killed 32 people in a market in Baghdad. Authorities said that the attack was a possible sign of the group reviving after its military defeat in 2017. On Wednesday, the Iraqi army killed 7 ISIS militants in a counter-terrorism operation in Kirkuk city. Iran, Russia, and Turkey have welcomed the 5th round of the UN-brokered Syrian Constitutional Committee talks in Geneva. In a joint statement, Tehran, Moscow, and Ankara underlined their support for the sovereign, independent, and united Syria. The statement urged the committee to seek compromise and consensus among the dialogue's participants to end the Syrian civil war. They said that the committee should work independently from foreign interference to gather the broadest possible support among Syrians. They also stressed that the body has been created by Astana guarantor nations to support efforts for a peaceful solution to the fighting. Today is the last day of the 5th round of talks on formulating the basic principles of Syrian constitution. Armenia and Azerbaijan have conducted a prisoner swap in line with their trilateral agreement with Russia. The Russian peacekeeping forces say 1 Azeri and 5 Armenian prisoners were exchanged. Commander Rustem Muradov said that the exchange was a result of the work carried out by the Russian peacekeepers. Muradov said that the Russian Aerospace Force aircraft delivered the prisoners to Baku and Yerevan. He also said Moscow's peacekeeping forces will continue to ensure the three-party deal is strictly implemented. Baku and Yerevan signed a Russian-brokered agreement on the 10th of November to end the conflict over the Nagorno-Karabakh region. The Israeli army has detained 25 Palestinians from different parts of the occupied West Bank. In a statement, the Palestinian Prisoners Society said that the arrests even included minors. The Israeli army frequently carried out wide-ranging arrest campaigns across the occupied territories. Nearly 4,400 Palestinian political detainees are languishing in Israeli jails, including women and children. 6 people have died after a suspected liquid nitrogen leak at a poultry plant in the northeastern United States state of Georgia. Police say 12 others have been shifted to the hospital. Medics say 3 of those injured are critical. Officials at the Gainesville plant say it appeared that a nitrogen line had burst and the cause was under investigation. They said maintenance personnel, supervisors, and managers were among the victims. Brazil's coronavirus infections have surpassed 9 million, while it has recorded over 221,000 deaths so far. The United States has detected another variant first found in South Africa as its caseload tops 25.7 million with over 432,000 deaths. Globally, the virus has claimed 2.18 million lives and infected over 101 million people so far. More on the coronavirus pandemic in this report. Shortage of cemeteries, failure of even the most sophisticated health systems to adequately conduct vaccination drive, and political spats over vaccine supplies describes the state of the world's fight against the new coronavirus pandemic. Even the origins of the virus are still unknown. But finally, the long-awaited WHO fact-finding mission has started its probe into the origins of the coronavirus in Wuhan, China. In the United States, Department of Defense is evaluating a request from the federal government to provide help in administering the COVID-19 vaccines. Meanwhile, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has received his first dose of the COVID-19 vaccine.
I'm very grateful to the city of New York and to this wonderful staff here in Adlai Stevenson School in Bronx for the vaccine I just got. To say how important it is for everybody everywhere to be vaccinated. And my appeal is for all to take profit of the opportunities that exist and be vaccinated as soon as they can.
In Europe, Britain and the EU continue to haggle over AstraZeneca vaccine. Belgian medicines regulators have raided AstraZeneca's vaccine production site near Brussels at the request of the European Commission. The Commission has warned that it could ban millions of doses being sent to the United Kingdom as increasingly bitter row over jabs of distribution intensifies. Meanwhile, Britain is banning direct flights to and from the UAE, shutting down the world's busiest international airline route from Dubai to London. Denmark has announced to extend its current restrictions by 3 weeks to curb the spread of a more contagious variant.
At the moment, we are seeing 2 simultaneous trends in the pandemic. One is driven by the virus we know, and it is on its way down, while the other one is driven by the new variant, and it is on its way up. We cannot stop the progression of this new variant that is spreading the way it is, but we will do everything in our power to slow it down as much as possible.
South Korea has delayed easing of restrictions over outbreaks in mission schools threaten the efforts to keep new infections under control. Vietnam reported 9 more new cases as the country's first outbreak for nearly 2 months spread in the capital, Hanoi. Pakistan has recorded another 46 deaths from COVID-19 overnight, raising the toll to 11,318. The health officials reported 1,644 new infections since yesterday. Out of some 541,000 infected in the country so far, over 496,000 have recovered. The number of active COVID-19 cases in the country has crossed 32,000. Prime Minister's Special Assistant on Health, Dr. Faisal, said that the first tranche of the COVID-19 vaccine will arrive in the country on Saturday. He said that a special plane would be flown to China to transport the vaccine. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Pakistan and Qatar have underscored the importance of further enhancing the defense cooperation. In a statement, the Pakistani military says that the Army Chief General Qamar Javed Bajwa is on a 2-day official visit to Qatar. Meeting Emir of Qatar Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani in Doha, Bajwa expressed satisfaction over defense relations between the two armed forces. They discussed matters of mutual interest, bilateral cooperation, and regional security. Pakistan's Army chief also witnessed a passing out parade at Ahmed bin Mohammed Military College. He appreciated the high standards of the Qatari forces and their efforts to groom young cadets to take on future challenges. The Qatari leadership reiterated that Pakistan and Qatar share brotherly relations. At least one person has been killed in violent clashes between police and anti-COVID-19 lockdown protesters in Tripoli, Lebanon. Police said over 100 were wounded. They said that the protesters set ablaze a government building as the demonstrations entered the fourth night over a 24-hour curfew. Lebanese media said police fired live bullets as protesters tried to storm the government building. Meanwhile, the army has also been deployed to quell the protests and safeguard important buildings. It said scores of people also got wounded in the clashes in one of Lebanon's poorest cities. Police also fired tear gas at the protesters, hurling Molotov cocktails at the anti-riot police. Bangladesh has sent another 1,700 Rohingya refugees to a remote island on the Bay of Bengal. This comes after international rights advocates said the United Nations raised the safety concerns. Navy officials say more will go tomorrow to the flood-prone Bhasan Char. Amnesty International has also called for an independent assessment of the refugee camps by humanitarian agencies. Bangladesh has sent around 3,500 Rohingya to the island of Bhasan Char since December. Bhasan Char emerged from sea only 2 decades ago and is several hours by boat from the nearest port at Chittagong. The refugees are not allowed to leave the island without permission from the government. In Greece, thousands of university students and teachers have rallied in Athens against the government's plans to police the universities. Wearing face masks, the protesters defied a 100-person limit on demonstrations as part of measures to combat the coronavirus. Students are protesting against the government's decision to deploy security guards on campuses after various acts of violence. The government measures also include installing surveillance cameras. In 2019, the government scrapped a university asylum law that prohibited police from entering institutions. 4 people have been killed after a fire broke out at a COVID-19 hospital in the Romanian capital of Bucharest. Hospital authorities say 102 other patients were evacuated after the fire spread to 4 rooms of the Mati Balz hospital. It said 44 of the evacuated patients have been shifted to other hospitals, as many have medium to serious COVID-19 symptoms. Meanwhile, Romania's Interior Ministry said prosecutors are investigating the cause of the fire. Mati Balz is one of the largest and most used COVID-19 hospitals in Romania. In November, a fire at the intensive care unit of the Piatra-Neamț County Hospital killed 10 people. Hollywood actress Demi Moore and model Kate Moss, along with other famous faces, walked down the Fendi catwalk at Paris Haute Couture Week. The Italian luxury label presented an array of flowing gowns, beaded capes, and oversized earrings. Find out more in this report.
With France under restrictions due to the COVID-19 pandemic, brands are sharing videos online instead of hosting bigger events usually attended by editors, buyers, celebrities, and bloggers. Fendi presented its design at the Palais Brongniart. Models including Naomi Campbell, Cara Delevingne, and Bella Hadid showcased designer Kim Jones' debut couture collection. Fendi cited the British sensibility of the Bloomsbury Group and artist circle, which included Virginia Woolf as the collection's main inspiration. One by one, the models walked into the glass-walled rooms decorated with bookcases. The Haute Couture Fashion Week, which has now wrapped up, includes an elite club of top-end designers showing off elaborate creations, which are not mass-produced for stores but tend to be sold to private clients.
World-famous Scottish stunt biker Danny McGaskill takes on a route down to sheer face of Loch Cruisk on the Isle of Skye. More about his stomach-churning stunt in this report.
Mountain biker Denny Macca's skill is used to traveling the world to find new sources of adrenaline rushes. But confined to the UK because of the COVID-19 pandemic, he discovered thrills much closer to home when he took on soaring peaks on a picturesque Scottish island. Towering some 610 meters above Loch Curusk on the Isle of Skye, the top slabs are angled between 40 and 60 degrees and provided Maccaskill with one of the hardest challenges of his riding career. The 35-year-old has shot to fame on social media after filming a string of seemingly impossible stunts on his mountain bike. Maccaskill says it was incredible and pretty scary.
Finland's Lahti, which is the European grain capital for 2021, has added ski trails to the city to reduce carbon emission. When the city roads get icy with the knee-deep snow, skiing is a fast way to get around. The authorities of the city have decided to roll out a public ski-sharing scheme, City Skis, which works in a similar way to the city's bike sharing. 3 ski points have been formed to borrow skis. With a total of 180 kilometers of cross-country skiing trails in the area, new skiing trails have been laid out in the city center. Lahti is also known as a winter sports city and has hosted the Nordic World Ski Championships 7 times. The city authorities want to encourage people to reduce their transport-related carbon emission.
We are really proud to be the European Green Capital this year, and we want to celebrate it in a very Lahti way. Winter sports and skiing are a big part of who we are, and we want to save our winters. That's why we are only 4 years away from reaching carbon neutrality in 2025.
Lahti is the smallest city to be awarded the GEC title with a population of 120,000. In Vietnam, smartphones are helping rice farmers save their harvest. With sensors installed in the fields, the farmers use their phones as an early warning system to detect salt before it can cause any damage. More in this report.
Vietnam is a country that has been hit hard by climate change. Heavier rainfall and rising temperatures have increased the risk of floods, typhoons, and droughts. Rising sea levels have seen salt water leaching into paddy fields and severely damaging crops. The International Fund for Agriculture Development has placed sensors in the farmers' fields. The results are monitored, recorded, and sent to farmers using a simple smartphone app.
Every 15 minutes, a water sample is taken, and on the database of sensors, the data is transferred to the operation centers and analyzed. Indicators such as salinity, alkalinity, pH level, and tidal water level to notify people through the Ryan-Mekong application system.
The farmers receive instant alerts on their smartphones. These alerts have given farmers early warnings of increasing saline levels. Thus, they can act quickly to save the crops.
In the past, if our parents or we wanted to know if the water was salty or not, we had to taste it like this to decide whether to get water into the field or not. But nowadays, we can stay at home and still be able to collect water information.
IFAD's new climate adaptation program aims to raise $500 million to help at least 10 million farmers adapt to climate change.
European stocks continue to retreat as market jitters persist over a retail trading frenzy that has rocked Wall Street. The Pan-European Stock 600 and Frankfurt's DAX have plummeted over 1%. London's FTSE and Italy's FTSE MIB have also shed over 1%. In Paris, the CAC 40 has slipped nearly 1.5%. Earlier, Asian stocks also tumbled, with all major regional bourses shedding. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.